Hey everyone, welcome to the pre-show. Good to have you here. Coming in just a minute or so late and busy all the way up to the last moment. I've got a picture up of a dear friend of mine who died today. And we'll tell you more about him in a few seconds. You may know who he is. If you don't, I'll tell you a little bit more about him. All right, everybody, going dark. We'll be right back. Stand by. Wow, did the intro play? I don't know if it did or not. I thought I clicked on it, but if it didn't, we're here. We're live. We are on radio. Thank you, everybody, for being here. My name's Scotty Roberts, and this is my show, the Intrepid radio program, right here on Subspace Odyssey Radio. You can find us at odysseyradio.com. That's ODYSY radio.com. And you can hear the show in its audio format over there. And I remember asking Ian Punnett about, 20 years ago. Yeah, it was before I knew Rainey. It was 2003. And I asked him, I said, do you think I should audition to be radio talent? And he was not unencouraging, but he said, well, it takes this and this and this. You'll have to hone that. And okay, he said, submit a reel, which I never did back then. I was already doing radio, internet radio, and did radio, paranormal radio on a station in Oklahoma, even though I lived up here in the cities. That was for a very short stint. It was somebody else who had the show. And looking for my current drink here. There it is. Cheers. Today, it is tangerine orange LaCroix water. All right. So, anybody here not know who Ian Punnett is? I don't have the dates on here because I just found a picture and threw it up there very quickly. If you don't know who Ian Punnett is, in recent years, well, at least the last, more than recent, last 12, 15 years, he's been the weekend host on Coast to Coast. George Norrie's show, Coast to Coast, formerly Art Bell's show. And I don't know if he was doing it in recent years, but he was on for many years doing the weekend show there. And Ian, when I first met him, was doing radio up here in Minneapolis, St. Paul, on the big powerhouse clear channel station, KSTP, AM 1500. And every morning he had a 3-hour talk show. Do everything from the kinds of stuff I would do on this show, except that was more commercial radio. And then a few years in, his wife came in with him, and they started doing a show together. He started a little thing back in, I want to say it was around 2000, called the Dead Theologians Society. And that's where once a month, he'd get all his listeners. Everybody was welcome. He'd announce, we're going to be at such and such bookstore on Grand Avenue in St. Paul on Tuesday night at 7:30, whatever it is, for the Dead Theologian Society. And we'd usually have about 20 to 30 people would show up for that were his listeners on air. And he didn't have a small show. He had quite a large show with a big following. And so I met him there, and we would just discuss current topics and things like that, things he'd talk about on the radio. And he got to know my kids. Abby and Bryn were back in, 2002, I'd say, was when we were in earnest going all the time. So they were 10 years old. Sam was 2. And I'd always come, and the girls would come. They'd sit in on the conversation sometime, but we were in a big bookstore. So they'd check out books. Sam always sat with me on my lap. And Ian took a quite a liking to my kids and to me. And we had a good friendship going. He wrote a little testimonial. It's on the back cover of The Rollicking Adventures of Tam O'Hare. And he called me one morning. It had to be about 5:30 in the morning. And his producer called me because he was already on air and said, "Hey, Ian wants to talk to you. Hang on." And Ian gets on the line. He goes, "Scotty," he said, "can you come on the radio?" He says, "We're going to plug Tam O'Hare," which means I didn't have to pay exorbitant amounts of fees to advertise Tam O'Hare on KS95 or KSTP 1500. And so we had he brought me on. We talked for about 5 to 7 minutes, something like that. And we promoted Tam O'Hare. He was a big supporter of all my stuff like that. He critiqued my first book, The Rise and Fall of the Nephilim. And he had a couple of things he disagreed with me on. He was a theologian. I don't think he left radio, but he went on to finish his PhD in theology. And he was teaching, I believe, at a seminary in recent days now. And but I think he was still doing radio, if I'm not mistaken. We hadn't talked much in the last few years, just a couple of passing comments. And he was my age, 63 years old. And I do have an article here that I just pulled up an article because I don't know any of the details about what happened. My daughter's asking me questions about it. And hang on, I'm just going to invite her to come over. And so give me a second while I use two brains to try to figure out what I'm doing. And she asked me what happened. How did he pass? I don't even know yet. That's an invite. That's a studio invite. I know this is riveting radio. I just want to get this proper link to my child, if you don't mind. Everybody, let me copy this link for my kid. Where the heck is it? So bear with me. Be patient with me, folks. I want to get this out to my child. So she can come in and listen to the show if she wants to. There it is. And I'm going to copy this link, copy the video URL, and I'm going to paste it over here. Wow, that took me some doing this time. What the heck? So, there. Show link. All right. So Ian Punnett was a good friend. We hadn't talked in a long time. You know those kind of good friends that you have that you will always classify them and deem them as good friends, despite the fact that you may have years run under the water, under the bridge, without having spoken with them. That's the way it was with Ian. It says here, I'm going to read you a little article that was posted today. Ian Punnett, former My Talk Radio host, dead at 63. The broadcaster was inducted into the Kansas Association of Broadcasters Hall of Fame last month. This is an article from just today. This is just this sudden. Ian Punnett, the witty broadcaster who helped launch My Talk Radio in the Twin Cities, has died at the age of 63. And by the way, My Talk, he started out at KSTP AM 1500, and then they launched My Talk Radio on FM stations, FM 107, um, where he picked up from there. It was a sister station. And according to Coast AM, where Punnett had various hosting duties for more than 2 decades, he passed away Thursday after a brief illness. The Ian and Marjorie show, which he hosted with his wife Marjorie Punnett, was the morning show at KTMY 107, that's My Talk Radio, 107.1 FM in Minneapolis, St. Paul. That was from 2002 to 2012. And he left the station to deal with tinnitus ringing in the ears. But that struggle didn't slow him down. In addition to continuing to do shows for Coast to Coast, he wrote 2 children's books, How to Pray When You're Pissed at God, or anyone else for that matter, which reflected on lessons he had learned from his time as a chaplain. I had also illustrated a book for him. It was a book about a dog with a propeller butt, propeller tail. And I did some illustrations for him on that. I don't even remember anything about that other than having done illustrations for him way back in 2002 or 3. In 2017, Ian received his doctorate at Arizona State University, where he became friends with his former Star Tribune editor, Tim McGuire. When McGuire's first wife passed away, Punnett flew from Phoenix to Minneapolis to be there for him. And he rushed into the funeral home and said, with Ian-like certainty, "You can't do grief wrong." McGuire posted on Facebook, "I need to remember that right." Punnett became a teacher in his later years with stints at Ohio Northern University and Kansas State University. The Kansas Association of Broadcasters Distinguished Service Award earlier this year and inducted him into its Hall of Fame. But he'll best be remembered by Minnesotans for his contributions to radio. I've had the privilege of producing for Ian these past 24 years, and I will miss our friendship and the professional collaboration, wrote Coast to Coast AM executive producer Lisa Lyon, who I know. She's had me 6 times on Coast to Coast. Never with Ian, though. Every conversation behind the scenes was as lively and entertaining, and everything we strive for on the air. Ian was great radio personified. So says Lisa Lyon over at Coast to Coast. Now, this picture I have up of Ian is a few years ago. Ian also was the master of ceremonies for our Paradigm Symposium back in 2012. And he led the all-panel discussion with all our celebrities that were there. And so there you go. Ian Punnett. Somebody I had just written to, we had exchanged messages over on all places, over on LinkedIn. We're doing, as you know, my current litter of kids. And and I wrote him back and I told him all about them. And the last thing I said to Ian was, "Tell me about your kids. Where are they now?" They were about the same age as Abby and Drew. And I never did hear back from them on that front. So, and that's it. That's where my connection to Ian Punnett will end. Marjorie probably remembers me by name, probably be able to pick me out of a lineup. I wasn't close to the family. I was close to Ian. And I saw him all the time at the Dead Theologian Society, and then listen to every day, and all the things I've already. So, Ian Punnett, dead at 63 years old. brief illness. I have no idea what his illness was. The article I saw does not tell me. Um, on looking to see if um, they had anything over here at KSTP. City's radio host has died after a brief battle with illness. He was 63. Ian Punnett, who co-hosted with Ian Monterey's show, and his wife, so on, and more repetitive information we got from the other one. So there you go. What kind of brief illness kills you quickly? Maybe it was something he discovered a terminal illness well into its festering. Who knows? I don't know the facts. So may I say publicly, farewell to Ian. At the end of Gladiator, we'll see you again, but not today. Next time. So there you go. Ian Punnett, my friend, dead at 63. And it was a shock. I got that just before I had to go into a call this afternoon where I was doing a reading for someone. And I was actually on the phone with this person who saw the news. So it's a little shocking. It's still a little numbing. I will say this, there's no way to rank your friends or rate the levels of your friendships because all of our friends mean something to us in one way or another. My daughters and my oldest daughters, they had a good friend of theirs, Ethan Fix, who was a friend of theirs all through high school, and he took his own life. I can't remember how long ago now, 10 to 15 years ago, and it still grieves them in their hearts when they learn about it or when they think of him. He was gay and struggled with that. Had a lot of difficulties and struggles, and audio mic issues. Is my mic not working? Have I been talking this whole time and nobody's heard me? Seriously, it's unplugged. Where's my oh, that's not it. Go with my in because for some reason my microphone is my soundboard unplugged, and I cannot for the life of me find the plug yet. It's there. Hang on, folks. Do you mean to tell me, Professor Bauer, and anybody, I've been going this whole time? I've been going for 22 minutes with no sound? garbled a bit. Interesting. It must have been coming unplugged. See, and the thing is, the lights on my soundboard are on. Sorry about that, folks. You heard everything. Interesting. Let me try. I'm going to switch back to my actual studio mic. Let's find out if you can hear me okay. Here we go. Switching right. Boom. Testing. 1, 2. Testing. My buttons were all turned down. I don't know if somebody did that for me. Um, there we go. All right. Can everybody hear me okay? Are we broadcasting? It says I've got sound bars on my microphone. Can you hear me now? Much better, says Professor Bauer. Okay. There we go. Okay. Not sure what happened there. How that my knobs were all turned, which I didn't do. So let me just make sure I'm not too hot. I'm not too hot. There you go. For those of you, I don't know where I dropped out along the way. Did you all hear? I was talking about Ian Punnett, my friend who just died yesterday or today. It might have been earlier today from the sound of it. So I don't know. How long ago did you all stop hearing me or whoever stopped hearing me? So I can recap a little bit, but I think most of it got through, didn't it? So sorry about that. I had no idea. My soundboard was unplugged and turned down. Somebody didn't want me talking today. 5 minutes ago. So, or we were out for 5 minutes. I didn't see that I was out until I saw Professor Bauer mentioned it. So maybe a bunch of you did, and I didn't see it because I was busy talking, which is what I'm here to do on this show. Be busy talking. So Ian Punnett, my friend, passed away. I think earlier today. No, Thursday they said. So yesterday. Not out, muffled. Oh, just muffled. See, that's weird too. I don't know why it was doing that. And my soundboard was all turned around too. So I'm not sure what happened. Okay, onward and forward. So yeah. Um so Ian Punnett died. I also wanted to bring you a little update on Ruben Fastforce. And um if you notice my post over on Facebook and my Instagram page, here, I'm going to just bring this up because I can. There's a picture I put up with Ruben. That was during one of the It's Sunday shows that I took that. Elderberry said that's not the first time. I know that's not the first time my soundboard has been unplugged. So it's all corrected now. So that's good. And all my buttons are turned, so I got to make sure all my settings are still good. And So, Ruben, we put up, and I want you all, I don't want anybody to tune this out because it's asking you for something. But I did put up this GoFundMe for Ruben and his wife, for all practical purposes, Susie. And this is so everybody has an opportunity to help Ruben out if you can. I know some of you are big babies about giving money on the internet. Blah, 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 blah. I don't really care what you feel about giving money on the internet. We don't live in the dark ages here, and we're not our grandparents who are like, oh, I can't use a tuner to turn my channel remote because I'm used to turning the channel with my fingers and getting up and walking across the room. You know what? Giving money online is so secure today. It's as secure as banking. So, all jokes aside, so if you've got a couple of bucks that you can throw toward Ruben, I know they would appreciate it. They've had some difficulties in this, as you know, everything that's gone on with Ruben. So I've got some good news laced with a little bit of bad news. The bad news is, of course, that Ruben is in the state he's in. Um, the good news is that he's improving. However, that improvement doesn't include certain things. And Susie also had a severe head injury years ago, and her severe head injury has had her in and out of treatment, uh, neurological treatment. And so, in the midst of all of this, Ruben had his head injury, and then I don't know if he had a stroke or not, because now the latest I have heard as of today is that I did see a photograph of Ruben that was up on Susie's page on Facebook, taken the other day. Ruben dressed in a t-shirt and blue jeans, looking about 100 pounds lighter than he used to be, and which left not much on him. And standing with a friend of his who came to visit him, smiling at the camera, and his arm around his friend, or his friend's arm around him. And Susie said he was doing well enough to stand up, to walk. He can communicate. She told me today that um, he um, all the paralysis on his right is gone. So the paralysis is gone. So he's got all his body is working as far as that goes. Um, it sounds like a stroke, Niall, or an aneurysm. The weight loss is odd. I agree. It was from the head injury, and he had blood on the brain from that. And something happened. We still don't know. Susie isn't even real clear on what exactly happened, even though the doctors talked to her. But they had to take the blood off of his brain, and they had to put him on meds that um, they had to intubate him and put the hose down in his throat to help him breathe, respirator. And they had to have him on meds that kept him under so he wouldn't wake up and try to pull that apparatus out of his throat. And he was like that for about 2 weeks. And that's when we all thought, Ruben's gone. We had a bad feeling about it, as you know from this show. And he survived that. They said if he survives, we have no idea what kind of brain capacity he'll have, what has happened to his brain, and so on. But what has happened that they found out now that he's been conscious, he's had some of the same symptoms as of having a stroke. Uh, his cognitive communication skills are badly affected. Um, and it's like Susie says, he would recognize her, but he couldn't say her name. She said he's talking now, but a lot of what he says doesn't make a lot of sense, even though he's trying. She gave me his phone number to his hospital room, and she said, "Give him a call." And I said, "Is he in a state is he?" And she said, "He's all right. He's kind of walking around. He goes outside to enjoy the sunshine." So I called him, and he picked up, and I said, "This was just this afternoon." And I said, "Ruben, Misu, Chia, Scotty." And right away, before I even said my name, he goes, "Ah, ha, ha, ha." He laughs. He goes, "Misu, Misu, Misu," like that. And there was recognition there, even though he couldn't say my name. And we got to talking, and he said, "Yeah, you'll have to." And this is Ruben. He said, "You'll have to forgive me. I was outside, enjoying the warm sunshine. And he says, "I just came in as the phone was ringing." And he said, I said, "Yeah, it's kinda warm up here too." And he says, "Yeah, it was Wisconsin." Now this gives you an idea of how his mind is working right now. And he said, "It was Wisconsin. I was on a bus. We were on a big bus trip, and I just came in from the bus trip, and some little town in Wisconsin we visited, and I can't remember something, something," he said. And of course, he wasn't on a bus trip, but Susie said to me when I talked to her afterwards, she said, "I think that's Ruben's way of trying to get his brain to connect with language." He knows he went somewhere. He went outside. He went for a walk, and what came up in his memory was a bus ride through Wisconsin. She said he keeps insisting that he doesn't know where he is. "Where am I? Why am I here? I wanna go home," he will tell Susie. And she said to me, she said, "Scotty, I just can't care for him right now." She said, "I don't think I could do it in the state she's in." And, they have a nice house and all of that, but, his insurance, they were having problems with. They weren't gonna cover his convalescence. So the doctors wanted to send him home. Susie said, "No, I can't take him at home. I can't do this. I can come and see him every day, but I can't care for him by myself." And so, apparently, according to Susie today, they did get something fixed with his insurance. Part of it hinged on the fact she couldn't care for him by herself at home and didn't have the money to hire anybody to do it. And so the insurance, there was something in there, the insurance did come through. So he's being covered at least partially. So he's going to, if he's not in it now, no, he's at the hospital still. I think that he's going to go to a rehabilitation home for a while. And so, what is good? The good news is that he's alive. His brain works enough to know who we are. He knew who I was. At the end, I said, "Hey, Rainey sends her love," and he says, "Oh, oh, oh, oh," and he laughs too, and he goes, "Ha ha." He says, "Rainey, Rainey, that's right. Send her my love too." And then he said a couple of statements in there that didn't make a lot of sense, but he talked in a bit of a halting way that was like parts of his speech were normal. He sounded like good old-fashioned Reuben, and punctuated by all the parts where he couldn't connect with how he wanted to say what he wanted to say. And I was talking to Susie, and I brought it up on the show too. That's got to be ultimately very frustrating for a man like Reuben who has revived his Lakota language, and he's a linguist, yet he's lost his ability to communicate. If he can't find English words, can he find his Lakota words? He didn't speak any Lakota to me today, other than Nisu when I said it, and Chia. So, don't know what's gonna happen to Ruben in the long term. We have no idea. The doctors have no idea what's gonna happen to Ruben in the long term. I gotta turn this down. I saw myself spiking over the top. Meaning my mic was set a little too hot. Um, tell me if that's okay. So, he could, Jay here, he could communicate in Lakota, but, not so far since this illness that I know of. So, if he's losing his ability to cognitively speak in English, which is his native language, um, I wonder what it's gonna be like for him to try to reconnect with Lakota, which he has learned over the years. and teach. Long-term undiagnosed cancer, which would explain the weight loss, and was on a ventilator, so oxygen issues, don't know. They haven't said anything about cancer, and Susie said they even said it wasn't a stroke, but it sure sounded like one. Jay here, we don't know. Don't know if he's even tried yet to play the flute. No idea. And what I've just shared with you is all I know. Now, I may end up, going out there in a couple of weeks to pay him a visit, and after the holidays clear, and, so I'd like to see him. Oh, and to give you an idea, he said, I told him, I said, "I might be able to be out there in a couple of weeks." And he said, "Oh, great." He says, "We can bite." And I think I knew what he was getting at, because then he stammered. He says, bite." I said, "We can go out to eat?" I said, "Well, get a bite." He says, "Yes, get a bite to eat." So I hope it can only be helpful if I go. He had vascular damage and bruising, yes. A lot of, blood on the brain. So, frankly, believe it or not, folks, for all that he's been on this show, the first time we had him back on Intrepid Radio was in 20, I think, 14. So almost 10 years ago was the first that Ruben came on with John Ward and I, when John Ward and I were doing Intrepid Radio. And so I've seen Ruben a lot face to face on camera. I have not physically seen Ruben face to face or put my arms around him for, damn, 20 years. A year or two before Rainey and I started dating. I haven't seen him. He was gone for years. He went back to the reservation. He had had some problems. She freely admits he had had some drinking problems. As another Native American friend of ours, Leon Stanzalone, said of Ruben, he told me, "Ruben has fallen back into the bottle," he said, and that was 12 years ago. So, um, yeah, that's it, Randall Flagg. Memories are there, but access is here. Yep. Jake, you're right. I do need to go see him. So, Niall says Christmas is hard when this type of thing happens. As I said, I had a good friend who died just yesterday at 63. Big shock. Yeah, Niall, I had another friend died yesterday at age 63 too. Just yesterday, same age. Um, Ian Punnett, if you weren't here for the opening of the show. So, there's my update on Ruben, and I give you this update because I really want you to dig a little deep. If you can't give any money, that's fine. Spread the word if you would. I'm going to paste a link because I would like you to, let's see, let me copy, let's see if I can copy the link. There it is, copy. You can go to this link. I'm gonna paste it into the chat room. This is the GoFundMe page. Now, GoFundMe collects money that people donate. They have a charge. They make their couple 3% per dollar. But, you can go over there and, it can be $1, it can be $5, whatever it is. I don't know if there's a minimum of, like, 5, but, if you can do 5, you can do 100. anywhere in between. Uh, Show Ruben that, we're all there to help. So go visit that page and read it. Now, I wrote that before I found out some of the information. I just put this up this morning, and, um, so I found out some different information. I may go in and get this thing updated. Let me just see here. Uh, so far, uh, and the names of people who've given money are on here. That we've raised $500 going to them. Susie was shocked when I told her within an hour of putting this up, I talked to her to get her banking information for this, and I said, "Look, you've already got $400 in here," and she was shocked. I said, That $400 came from our radio listeners, so you can go see who they are. They've left their name in the show publicly. But here's what I wrote over there. You can go read it for yourself. I said, "As many of you have heard via the broadcast, Ruben Fasthorse is going through some extremely difficult medical issues due to a severe head injury. He sustained the injury several months ago, but it came back and attacked him with a vengeance. He suffered from blood on his brain that left him with nearly all the symptoms of a severe stroke. We all thought we were going to lose him a few weeks ago, and he's not yet out of the woods. Ruben has been hospitalized in the ICU for many weeks, unable to form cogent words and sentences despite recognizing Susie and others. He's been paralyzed on his right side, but that too is showing some signs of minor improvement. Now, as I stated, it's totally gone now. The hospital wants to move him to a rehabilitation facility, and this is where the financial difficulty starts. It seems that his insurance is refusing to cover these costs. Additionally, Susie, who also is undergoing treatment for neurological issues that stem from a severe head injury that she incurred several years ago, is nearly unable to drive to spend time with Ruben or do all the travel that she needs to do to be of help to him. Susie is at wit's end and is heartbroken over this whole matter with Ruben. There are many more details that would best be served in conversation or by catching updates on the broadcast. Suffice it to say that there's an enormous need for support, emotional, financial, and spiritual. From all those of us who love this man, my Misu, my little brother. Your support, as small or big as you can manage, will help Ruben and Susie keep their heads above the water and survive during what is sure to be a lengthy healing process for Ruben. I set a financial goal. I didn't word this clearly. The financial goal I set here was $10,000, just because it makes you put in a goal. I said, we don't really have a goal, just ongoing some help for them. So I put 10,000 in. I said I set a financial goal only because it was required in the application here on GoFundMe, but I'm sure they could use many times that amount. Be assured that all funds will go directly to Susie, who will administer them as needed. Please lead with your mind and follow through with your heart. Sure, we all have our own issues to deal with in life. And I will add, and money is tight for everybody these days. But Ruben and Susie sure could use our help right about now. So that's the GoFundMe we've raised today, $500, and that's $500 in 3 donations, folks. All of that goes directly into Susie's bank account. Doesn't run through my account, it doesn't run through my fingers or anybody else's. It goes into, oh, and by the way, and of that, just to give you an idea, let's see, I wanna tell you Um, how much money is taken out? They tell you right here. Uh, donations. Okay, it gives the donations, transfers, 500. So far out of $500, um, GoFundMe has retained $15.40. So somebody can do the math on that. So, out of the 500, $484.60 goes into Susie's account. And that's just to help pay for the service to be able to do this. So there you go, folks. Um, is Ruben Fast Horse able to get help from his tribe? I don't know an answer to that yet, Jay here. Um, I don't know if the tribe has means to do something. Remember, he's the Lakota Sioux. He's from Pine Ridge Reservation, and he originally grew up on Standing Rock Reservation, where all the "Water is the life" protesting went on a few years ago. And, they relocated to Pine Ridge, and, he grew up there, and it is one of the most, impoverished places in America. So 3% says Randall Flagg, there you go. 3% take goes to, GoFundMe, which is great because that gives, for 3% of what you take in, that's worth it for the system that they've set up to get into the hands of people who, um, need it. Jay here says there are Indian hospitals is why I ask. Yeah, I don't know. I wish I could give you an answer to that. I think at the time when this all started, they didn't wanna move him. His relatives wanted him to be sent back to the Dakotas, and, they said that would kill him for sure right now. But, his part of his family had said they wanted him to come home and go through tribal or family magic, which is, take him to the medicine men in, his tribe and have the magic worked. And Susie just was not open to that right now because she wanted to see him survive first. So, yeah, Matthew, it hasn't been easy for the native peoples there, that's to be sure. So, here we've spent the whole show, save about 5 minutes, messing around with the microphone, trying to figure out why it was doing what it was doing, talking about Ian Punnett and, Reuben Fasthorse. For those of you who remember Ian Punnett, I'm sure there will be more to be said as the days roll on here. And, I understand, Jay here. I get it. This is not easy, just asking. Yeah, I get that. I have the same questions. So, I'd like to find out. And of course, because I'm a Washichu, I'm white, not a part of the tribe. Reuben was gonna adopt me into his Lakota tribe, uh, but that hasn't happened yet. So I'm just an outsider. So very untrustworthy to the tribe. Believe it or not, that exists today, still very strongly. So, I don't know how to find out information on any of that stuff, on the tribal side of things. And I'm just starting to be able to, receive information on what's going on with Reuben, and none of that's official. It's from Susie, who's interpreting the official information that she readily admits she doesn't get it all. So, I think Bauer is here somewhere, Niall. I saw him earlier. The American health system is shockingly ineffective in paying for sick people. Always has been. Always annoys me. Yeah, it is. Um, my wife and I and our family, we are on Wisconsin state medical insurance, so everything's covered. We are covered 100% because our income level is at such a level that were below the cutoff line. So you can always get Wisconsin state insurance. It's just whether or not you have to pay for it and what levels. We're at a level with our income where we're still in a place where the state covers us, and, not ashamed to say so. Uh, it's a little shaming to say I'm 63 and I'm still at a level of income where the state has to cover our insurance, but, it worked like when I had my heart attack and had my heart surgery, I was 100% covered. Now I had a copay for that. You know, you have a copay for your meds, a copay for office visits. Guess what my copay was? This surgery was over $100,000 when I had this done, and a week stay in the hospital. My tab came to, I think, over $125,000. Um, I had a friend who happened to be Brad Hart. He's been on the show before. He's done his own radio shows, professional radio, and, little did I know for 6 months, he had the same heart attack and surgery I had at almost the same time. We were, I believe, in the hospital together on the same floor in cardiac unit, and a couple of days of both our stays overlapped in the middle. I didn't know. Now, he didn't have insurance, and his tab came to $125,000 that he said, "You know, Scotty, I told the hospital, I will never be able to pay that bill." I was in there for the same exact thing, same time. My bill for the same exact surgery and stay, I got a bill in the mail for $7.35 for my copay. I smile about that, but that's like we were totally covered. My hip surgery was totally covered, and good thing. We didn't have the money to pay for those things, and we didn't have other kinds of insurance. Now I've got that. Now I've also got Medicaid, I wanna say, with my Social Security. So, yes, I get Social Security. That's how old I am. And, um, if I was making more money, I wouldn't take it, but this helps augment expenses. So and it's not a lot, trust me, and you can't make a lot. So, all that to say that, not having insurance and going through what Ruben has gone through, ridiculously difficult for them. But now there's something getting fixed with the insurance, we'll see what all gets covered. Yeah, 63's come up 3 times tonight. Your friend, my friend, who both passed away yesterday, and me, I'm 63. Ask, Professor Bao if there's significance to that. Folks, we have, less than 2 minutes left before we have to say goodnight to the radio audience, but we'll have the captain's cabin right here, right afterwards. Oh, here, let me take down, this picture of Ruben. There, we'll go to full screen. And, um, so the show tonight was gonna be more about, Christmas, and, when all this happened, I said, "You know what? I'm just putting up a blank screen for tonight, and we're just gonna talk about this stuff, give you some updates." And, "Niall, Professor Bauer is here," he says. There he is. And, those of you who would like to join us in the after show, the Captain's Cabin, we're gonna start that in about a minute. Now, there'll be a couple of ads and things in between, self-made ads, stuff like that. So, I hope you all have great Christmas plans, that you're gonna enjoy yourself. We will be here Sunday morning, which is Christmas Eve day. We'll be here Sunday morning for It's Sunday, I do believe. My kids are all coming up to visit, their mother's side of the family, but they're gonna stop here, and we're gonna go meet them, I think, at the Mall of America for dinner tomorrow, so after they fly in. So, let's get out of here for the radio audience. Radio audience, thanks for being here. Join us over at youtube.com/Scotty Roberts for the Captain's Cabin. Till then, live long and prosper.
Join us every weeknight at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time, 10 p.m. Eastern. The Intrepid Radio Program, a Scotty Roberts Productions broadcast.
Hey folks, this is Scotty Roberts, and this is the Intrepid Radio Broadcast. I've been broadcasting for about 20 years now, covering such topics as science, politics, the paranormal, weird science, weird world history, archaeology, and the paranormal. Everything from ghosts to cryptids to creepy things that go bump in the night. So every week I bring you 3 new episodes. Come and join my channel and also be a patron to this site. So see the details below, and we'll see you here. Well, and shiver me timbers and all of that. Welcome to the captain's cabin, everyone. Glad you could be here tonight. And thanks for listening in. Tonight's show was nothing new and informative and earth-shaking and grand new information on any political, sociological, anthropological, archaeological, or historical front, but it was information that I think was in need of being shared, starting with the untimely, sudden passing of my friend Ian Punnett. And I've known him for, goddamn, since 2001 or 2. And that was rather sudden. We talked about it in the show. And of course, to update you all on Ruben and how Ruben is doing, the good news, he's alive and well, just not well. He's good, but not good. He's doing okay, but not okay. I told him today when I spoke with him, I said, a couple of weeks ago, I said, we kind of thought we'd lost you. And he said, yeah. He laughed like that. He said, I kind of thought we lost me too. So he's got understanding. He's still got wit. He's still got humor. But he's not connecting with certain language banks, communication banks in his head. So. Yes, Matthew, we had a show on Krampus the other day. Check it out. I got to put on my glasses. It's blurry enough. In about a week's time, something like that. No, about 2 weeks' time, I go in for my cataracts. I don't know what they're going to do about them yet. A couple of years ago, they said, you got a good 10 years before you got to worry about it. But they irritate me every single day. And becoming harder and harder to sit here all day long. Now, my vision is fine. Let's put it that way. I can see just fine. I can see without them. If I squint a little bit, or if my eyes are just right, I can read the chat room right now. I can read it. What does Sean Strike say? We don't know the birth of Jesus. It was the Catholics trying to get the winter solstice pagans on board. True. But we do know about the time Jesus was born. We did a show on this last week, and I've talked about this before. Sean, for you, I'll just do a 1-minute recap. Jesus was born at Passover time. He was born at a time when all the lambs and the sheep would have been brought in from the distant pastures into the cities. This is why Bethlehem was so packed. It wasn't just the census. There was a census, and then there was also Passover, and everything was booked up. The shepherds were local because they had the sheep in close for Passover. And also you have King Herod dying in or around 4 BC. So we know that Jesus would had to have been born between 4 and 7 BCE. So there you go. Boom. Tax time. That's right. So who we got? We got Niall is waiting in the wings. Let's bring in Niall. How you doing, Niall?
Hey, Scotty. How are you, man?
I'm good. Well, I see Michael's out there, too. Hang on. Let's bring Michael in, too.
Yeah.
I got a bunch of pictures up down below. Can you guys see me when I have you in the wings waiting? Can you see the little...
Oh, yeah.
The little thumbnail of me? So that, I've got a bunch of pictures up in there. I don't know if you see those. And Michael wasn't moving, and I just saw him move.
Yeah.
And I went, oh, that's not a photograph.
No, I'm sitting here playing Uber right now. He has to work over, so.
Oh, right on.
Yeah.
So I'm coming, but I was just going to pop on real quick because he should be coming out and tell everybody. Remember Sunday, Wicked Women. They're all going to dress up, so it should be a really good show.
Right. I believe there's an invitation for me to go on Wicked Women with the Wendy.
We need to.
You know, I have to, yeah. Although she's a bit slow with sending, she keeps calling me lovely. I'll send you a link. Lovely. You know, she's very cool.
The link is usually put up on Sunday. Yeah. She sent me a voice message. She's real busy with family right now and everything with the holidays, and she told me that she'd put the link up on YouTube, what it would be about.
Yeah.
most of the time, I know what it's about pretty
Yeah,
quick. But I still don't know.
it's a funny title because we have a show over here in Ireland called Loose Women, and it's mostly all a female panel on the TV. But sometimes they bring on a man, and I'm thinking, yeah, is it just a bunch of women who's going to be bitching together? It's a weird kind of title but then again,
They're actually pretty good, I think.
I've got a strong feminine side, so I really enjoy talking to a bunch of women. Especially when they're bitching. It's just the best.
Especially
ever,
when they're bitching.
Yeah. But I wanted to say before we go anywhere else that
for JPJP.
Yeah, I wanted to say, Scotty, just before we go anywhere else, that I'm glad to hear that. Can you hear me?
I can.
Yeah, I'm glad that Ruben is alive.
Me too.
I actually had the pleasure of speaking to Ruben about 3 times one-on-one, because I don't know whether you knew this, Scotty, but we actually had this idea that we were throwing backwards and forwards about a year ago about he was very interested in Celtic mythology, and he wanted to. I'd been on your show a few times and speaking about this, and he was very interested in writing some stuff down because he said there was a lot of correlation between himself and the Lakota mythologies and symbolism and especially the earth-based stuff, And I found him to be, he was such a character. He was into the same kind of music and the same kind of imagery and icons as myself. So I was very upset when I heard that he was sick, but I've got some clarification tonight, and I'm just glad that he's doing okay, and I hope that he will recover slowly. So anybody's out. I'll just reiterate what you were saying, Scotty. Anybody who can help, do help Ruben, because he's one hell of a interesting man, very interesting.
Yes.
So I just wanted to throw that out there.
And by the way, for Susie to drive there to see him at the hospital, it's the hospital. Both the hospital and the facility are an hour's drive for her.
Yeah.
And she said it's when $400 came in that first hour, and she said, "Oh my, that's 4 trips to go see Ruben." So she's got 4 trips back and forth to see him. That gives you guys an idea of what it's costing her to be able to go spend time with Ruben.
Yeah.
And and plus that all their other stuff going on financially. So if you've got a few bucks, I know Christmas is tough to ask for money, but if you have a few dollars and you want to help out our friend Ruben, a few bucks is all it takes. Get enough people doing that, and
he's a very special man, and he has he does such great work for the First Nations people, especially the Lakota. That's his whole life. So I'm glad. I'm even though I know he's still sick, but I'm glad. I wasn't sure whether he had died or not, or anything like that had happened. So I didn't hear any news. So I just wanted to say that.
And the news was slow coming to me because I didn't talk to Susie every day.
Yeah, sure.
So here's the thing. I think Ruben is not so much. I wouldn't classify him as being sick. He doesn't have an illness or a disease. He had an injury that's caused some brain damage. And hopefully, I don't know what maybe Sarah could enlighten us a little bit with her close bonds to the medical industry and field.
It could be a viral thing. I mean, it's very hard to know. Yeah.
Well, they're not sure why it happened when it did, but Susie says that she thinks that they didn't take care of the whole job the first time around. Remember when he first had his head shaved on the side? And the stitches? She said they sent him home too early. She said because it wasn't fully mended, and that hit him in the middle of the night one night, and he went down to the floor. And so there you go. Randall Flagg said, Randall, are you in medicine? No, I'm thinking of somebody else in here that's either a nurse or in medicine. Philip is. But the brain can overcome some incredible odds. Odds. Yes. What do you think of that, Professor? What do you think of the brain's ability to overcome some of the things that we see as physical problems? Right now, what Ruben is facing is a physical problem that his brain will not connect correctly. When that connection's broken, is it broken forever? Will he be able to regain that? What do you think?
Well, I think it's all about how you look at what is the physiological makeup of our systems. The brain, the heart, the organs all have individual responsibilities and functions. And the brain is the neurological organ of the body. In my view, it is not where the mind and where our memories and our thoughts and all that other stuff occurs, the way that current medicine describes it. As far as Ruben's ability to heal, and that, again, it depends on whether it's, some type of infection or parasite versus a traumatic, kinetic type event, which is what apparently Ruben's was from. So, and the other thing to realize is that we know that our cells all recycle every 7 years. The change in the way that those cells recycle and regrow or get replaced is based on the telomeres at the end of our DNA, and those shorten. They get shorter over time, which is what our biological science says is what causes our aging. So technically, they say if you can extend the telomeres, then you can extend life. It's essentially kind of a fountain of youth kind of thing from a scientific perspective. I have always felt, not always, I started thinking when I got into Taoism and had completed my spiritual and philosophical journeys up to that point, that you can change your DNA with your mind, your consciousness. You can heal and change physiological damage to your biological system. Saw it when I was in the Pentecostal church. Some of the stuff laying hands on the sick.
Yeah.
I saw some crazy stuff that you'd go, well, where did that come from?
That's not supposed to work.
That's not according to the science that we all are being pushed with.
Right.
But then in the 90s, when I got into Taoism, started looking at everything as energy. That's when I came up with the idea, in my mind at least, and the way I look at things, that you can change your DNA with your mind, with your thoughts, with the energy that creates that. Can Ruben, his mind and his brain and his physiological restrictions become cured and healed? Absolutely, in my opinion. It all depends on a whole bunch of different things coming into play there, but the potential and the possibility for that to happen is most definitely a part of our physiology, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think there has to be some kind of diagnosis. Firstly, though, to say if there is brain damage.
Right.
As regards oxygen deprivation or whatever it is that could cause. It could still work, Professor.
I don't think he had the oxygen deprivation. He had the blood on the brain.
Yeah. And I just went through this a week ago. The mother of my children had what they think was a stroke. Now she's 68. She's been battling a dozen different types of cancers for 30 years. I mean, everything from tumors twice the size of her kidneys, to brain, her melanoma, all kinds of skin. Her nose is actually made from her ear.
Wow.
And so she lives with my oldest daughter, our oldest daughter. And Saturday morning, my daughter found her on the bathroom floor and she was just out. And Kate had no idea how long her mom had been there. They got her to the hospital. They ran tests on her. And what they found was what appeared to be a blood vessel that had burst. And it was
So an aneurysm.
essentially an aneurysm. But it was causing, it was also leaking into the rest of the brain cavity around the brain. So she was basically out and in with a number of different drugs and hooked up to machines. She was out till about Monday. She had some paralyzation on her left side. Right side seemed to work. There was serious neurological impact on her being able to speak, kind of like Ruben, having some paralysis, which I think, Scotty, you had told us originally that he had some paralysis in the beginning. Can't hear you. You're on mute.
Oh, I muted myself because I was going to call for Rainey, but and I decided to type her a message. Yeah, his whole right side was paralyzed.
Yeah.
Now that's all gone.
Yeah. So it's only been a week, and within that week, they did a catheter through her leg up and drained most of the blood. They couldn't get it all. She has regained. She didn't know for the first couple of days where she was, let alone what happened. She now knows that she had a stroke. She is cracking jokes full of piss and vinegar, telling everybody to leave her alone and get out of her face, which is her normal character. Or my daughter was, when she first called me, she said, this is obviously very unexpected, and her and her sister and everybody is very emotional about it, which makes sense. And she said, she's been battling this cancer for a long time. I said, sweetheart, 30 years is not a survivor. That's a warrior. And that's how your mother is. And as of Tuesday or Wednesday, I think is when I got the last update, she's full of even more piss and vinegar. The paralysis on the left side is now receding. She's able to move things, and she's now able to get up and do her thing. But it was something that apparently seemed to be coming on over time, because my daughter said that over the last month, she'd find her mom in the kitchen with like a cup or something in her hands and not know why she's there.
Yeah.
And just have that pause of what's going on.
I think that's kind of what Susie was intimating that Ruben was feeling. He'd look at, she said they got into a couple of arguments this week because he's like, why am I here? Where am I? And she'd tell him, you're in the hospital. No, I'm not. And she'd say, look around you. And she said, he says, I'm in Wisconsin. And she said, you're in New York, honey. Yeah. I am not in New York. I am in Wisconsin and Minnesota.
And it's amazing how similar that is to early onset dementia and certain other illnesses. I think the trick with these illnesses, there are miracles that can happen. I call them miracles because they're, for all intents and purposes, very hard to explain how people can come back from severe illnesses. Like I told you that I had a friend who died 2 days ago at 63, and I was speaking to her 2 days prior to that, and she looked kind of unwell. She hadn't been eating, but she was with it, and she was chatting away with me. She lives with her son, and I spent about an hour talking to her, and then 2 days later, her son went in and she was unresponsive, and he called a local doctor, out of hours doctor, and she said, no, this woman needs to go in. She's barely breathing. But one thing led to another. And it turned out, she had to go directly onto a ventilator. And it turned out she was absolutely riddled with cancer, from the brain to the liver to the kidneys to the stomach, and had been feeling unwell for about 3 months. But the symptoms of that feeling unwell were a loss of appetite, flu-like symptoms, sleeping more than usual, unless you have somebody around you who can pick up on those signals,
Right.
and probably that cancer had been fermenting for a long time before that. But in her case, there was no chance. Like, she didn't even regain consciousness. She was put on a
Sure.
ventilator. They took her off it, and she was gone, and that was it. Within 2
Right.
days. So yeah, I mean, and then you get somebody else like what Robert was talking about, who's a, I don't know, a fighter, or their own system can fight it, or or they have people around them who are watching them or encourage them to do so, or whatever. And it's a difficult thing to kind of say, at what point can it be captured, and at
Right.
what point can this DNA, this almost spiritual kind of a connection occur? And I think once the brain gets involved, from my point of view, and the brain is compromised, I think all bets are off, unless it's
Sure.
it's an absolute miracle, and then whatever it is that Ruben has, what has happened, whether it's a stroke or something similar, or an aneurysm, or an injury to his head which wasn't properly examined, or blood on the brain, or whatever it is.
Well,
Will he be affected going forward? And will the brain be able to recover itself? I mean, these are good questions.
I happen to have a photograph here of Ruben from a couple of days ago. You'll get to see here what how he looks right now. And this was one that Susie posted on her Facebook publicly, and she said I could add it. So here it is. There is Ruben, of course, on the right, and a friend of his who stopped by to see him. So
yeah, he looks a little thin, but he doesn't look terrible.
He doesn't look terrible. He looks thin, and he looks, of course, absolutely exhausted.
Yeah.
Which he should, after what he's been through.
Yeah.
It makes him look a little older.
Yeah.
And of course, he has none of the makeup that he wears
No.
on.
No.
And
but he looks, I mean, if you were to see that photograph, you wouldn't say, "Oh my God, one of these guys is sick," because he still has color in his face, and
yes.
He doesn't have that gray pallor, that sick people,
right.
that very sick people have, So yeah, but then again, I've always said he's a remarkable man,
Yeah, he is.
So wish him the best.
And he expressed a little something today that I really forgot about. It was such a brief conversation, 5 minutes. And but he said something about feeling frustrated, but he didn't use those words, but I could tell what he was getting at. The frustration of being where he is and not being what it's like. I could only equate it to, let's say you became a quadriplegic after living a life of having full use of your body, and that your brain is all there, but you're unable to move any of your limbs.
Yeah, you're unable to express it.
You're imprisoned in a body.
Yeah.
And I think right now he is aware enough. This tells me his mind is working. There's just certain centers that are shut off, or damaged. But he's aware enough to know that I am fully alive and fully awake and all of this, and I'm frustrated because I can't grasp onto certain things that I used to be able to every day. And I think he's very frustrated by that.
Yeah. But I have, just from what you told me, Scotty, and I'm glad to see that photo, but it sounds to me like he's going to survive this. He doesn't look like a man who was, dying, because first of all, he wouldn't be up walking around.
Right.
So yeah, I'm glad to hear that. But yeah, my friend was just, that was it.
And Susie said they have a babysitter. She calls it a babysitter. They have a sitter with him to make sure he doesn't run off. He just wants to get out of there. He's going to go
Yeah.
outside and get some sunshine and end up just wandering off.
Yeah.
Going, I'm going home.
I wish him the best. I wish him the best.
So he doesn't want to be there for certain. And he's aware that he's there. So he's aware of everything, I think. He just can't access abilities. So it's like, I'm aware I have a six-pack. I just can't access it.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So
I have a six pack as well, but unfortunately it's in the fridge, nowhere else.
Right.
But here's the thing, though, Scotty. You can have a six-pack that you can't access, but why have a six-pack when you can have a whole keg?
There it is. I told myself that many years ago. So
it's not a beer gut. It's a fuel tank.
I don't drink enough beer. Yeah. Yeah. It's just a keg. It's a barrel. I have a barrel chest belly. But my wife still loves me.
That's all that matters.
We're driving today, and she happened to be driving today. She reaches over and takes my hand. At first, I thought she was reaching for something, and I'm like, what? And then she reached up and she took my hand, held my hand the whole way, and I'm like, yes, my wife loves me.
Yeah, it's kind of sweet when that happens,
It is.
And
we used to do that all the time. We just don't go places together that much these days because she's working and I'm here, and we're just and her work. I don't want to make it sound like, oh, she's a working stiff mom wife. Nah, she works up at the thrift store, the dollar store, and she's ready to walk out anytime. She says, if I don't get what I want over there, she says, I'll say see ya. And she says, I'd rather be at home. Yeah. So she's doing it for extra money.
What do you guys feel about this time of year? I mean, I know we're a bunch of cranky old bastards for the most part. I think JP is probably a bit younger than the other.
My daughter.
But really,
Abby,
I was watching something earlier on today. These cookery programs that they put on at Christmas. This happy clappy stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And they always assume that everyone is surrounded by family and friends. Now, this is the perfect way to cook your turkey for your family and friends who are going to be around on Christmas Day. And I bet you don't forget to get in touch with your family and friends. Don't forget to be close to your family and friends. And we're all, there's like this assumption that we're all surrounded by a large group of family and friends all the time. You know what I mean? And it's really annoying. And as I get older, it gets even more annoying because I think most people are beginning. I think we touched on this in Wendy's show of all places the other day when we were talking about Christmas. I don't think people are really swallowing that anymore. They never did, but now Christmas is not even about kids anymore. It's like even kids are like.
My kids are so savvy from internet and social media and all the stuff they're exposed to. The politics of the world, all of this at my kids, and they may not know and understand all of it, but they're exposed to it all. And they're like, this Christmas, it's like, it's not like it used to be. It used to be Christmas was fun and it was special and there was a thing from your little kids. You kind of kept things from them, because of Santa Claus, because of whatever mythologies that you introduced into the home. And there was this beautiful innocence about it. Now, these kids of mine, they believed in Santa, but the two older ones abandoned Santa a very long time ago. And
it's like they're too clever these days. I think on Wendy's show, I think we called it the end of innocence.
Yes.
And there is that sense of the end of innocence. Even very young children these days are like, what? I don't believe in this Santa guy. What are you playing at? Or they don't really even get excited about particular toys. I remember when my children were very young, Jesus, there used to be riots in the toy store,
Yeah.
because I want this dinosaur, right? And you'd have to turn up at the toy store before it opened, and you'd form a queue of irate parents, and you'd literally run into the place looking for this goddamn dinosaur.
Right.
And I remember having a tug of war with a woman. The last one was on the shelf, and she was, I want it. Yeah, those days don't really seem to have, don't seem to happen as much. That kind of manic, where the kids say, I want this, I have to have this.
I got,
which I think is a good thing, by the way.
I got my twins back when they were. How old were they? I think it was I want to say just after the divorce. So they were 9 years old. And it was back when the Phantom Menace came out, Star Wars. And they had the Queen Amidala dolls. And these were the big FAO Schwartz at the Mall of America. It was the only one I could find that had them. And I didn't even know about them in time, hadn't gotten them in time, was freelancing, hadn't been paid in time to look any earlier. Christmas Eve day, I drove to the Mall of America. And I said, I called them first, and they said, yeah, we've got them. I said, I'm coming to get them. And I got them 2 of the different ones in the different outfits. And they had these amazing outfits on these dolls that were about this tall. And someone got those for them. There was a magic to that. There was a magic to going to get it for them, to surprise them with it. And they still got them today. They've got them on their bookshelves at home, in their homes, up on display, still in the boxes. And, there was something else I was going to say about all that. With the,
my point is that magic,
younger than I was.
That magic has been somehow diluted over the years, in that kids don't seem to have the same excitement as they used to have, as far as I can see, amongst my nieces and nephews and kids of that age, of that generation these days. They're not that pushed. There's nothing really around. They're into the gaming. They want the latest Xbox or whatever that.
My first set of kids were into dolls and stuff. My second set were into tech. So.
They're into all of that. They're into tech and stuff like that, but they're not into action figures or dolls or
I'm still into action figures.
Yeah, me too. Except
I love not WETA, WETA. They were the special effects group for the Lord of the Rings movies. They put out some fantastic sculpted pieces and all kinds of collectible things.
Very expensive, though. Very expensive. Wow.
There's another place that does action figures, and they're a little bigger than the normal action figure, but they are decked out. They've got like the Indiana Jones, all the Star Trek, all the Star Wars, all the Lord of the Rings, and everything. Just amazing reproductions as action figures, but they cost like brand new $300.
Oh, yeah.
And so it's a little different. Collecting action figures is a little different now. But I was going to say, my daughter Abby today sent me some messages. And she sent a picture of a open spread in a book. And the book is called, it's by Beth Kempton. And it's a hardcover edition here. Calm Christmas and a Happy New Year, a little book of festive joy, it's called. And she sent this to me because she wanted me to read it. And I'm going to read it for the first time for you guys here now. But here's what I'm going to share a little personal message my daughter sent me. Just today, it was, what time did she send this to me? 6:37 this evening. She said, I listened to your show the other night about Christmas. And the first couple pages of this book made me tear up, so thought you would appreciate it. There's a section in the book called Honoring the Melancholy. And she goes on to say, I answered and I said, I'm in the middle of a conversation with somebody. I'll take a look at it later. And she says, cool, no worries. Excited to see you and the kids tomorrow, as usual. Feeling a bit overwhelmed by holiday travel. Now, apply this to your own situations. Feeling a bit overwhelmed by the holiday travel, while also simultaneously feeling happy to see everyone, knowing that we'll all get there and wish we had more time to spend. I felt myself really struggling the last few years with Christmas. It just hasn't sparked the same magical, joyful feeling to me. Hence, picking up this book. And owning a company tends to make this time of year more stressful than anything. More and more these days, I tend to be excited to be past the season and into some quiet, relaxing months through the winter. I also totally get the Christmas blues thing you talked about on the show. It's a super nostalgic time of year. And while it can be a beautiful thing to look back on, happy old memories, it can also feel really fucking sad. Sometimes. I miss Grandpa Don, especially this time of year. He died when they were 9, by the way. I just wanted to let you know I relate to what you were talking about on the show the other night. With you missing Grandpa OJ, my grandpa, and Aunt Andy, and how Christmas can really bring these feelings out especially. I think it's probably a lot more universal to feel nostalgic and a little sad around Christmas than most of us probably realize. I also want to let you know that I'm looking a little guilty. We aren't able to come, or feeling a little guilty, we aren't able to come and spend a little more time on this trip. It's tough having both the guys in tow. They're bringing both their husbands this time. Needing enough room for us all to sleep comfortably and making it everywhere. We're trying to be within a 48-hour window. And she talks about her grandma on her mom's side. Let's see. She says, so it feels like we're playing the "Is This It" game a little harder than usual. Maybe next year we'll try to do a longer trip, or maybe you guys could come down here or something. Anyway, just some feelings and rambles that I wanted to share, promoted by the first couple pages of this little book, LOL. And here's what the book says that she sent, these first 2 pages. It says this. It's the opening. It's a note from the author. It says, this book is for life, not just for Christmas. Think of it as a quiet retreat from the festive noise and a guide to honoring this special season without sacrificing your well-being. This collection of stories, advice, and ideas is based in the belief that there is no single way to approach Christmas. It brings together all kinds of Christmases, celebrated in all kinds of ways by all kinds of people. It's a portrait of us as human beings, pausing in the rush of life to celebrate, to acknowledge those we love and those we miss, to mark the passing of another year, and to make peace and mince pies, marmalade, and memories. I hope it inspires connection, belonging, self-care, nourishment and joy, and a little bit of festive magic. A gentle word of warning: this book offers no military strategy to execute the perfect Christmas. It's more likely to inspire you to ditch half your plans and open up space for spontaneity. It will make you question convention and inherited tradition in order to shape a celebration that recognizes what you really need and treasure most. Oops, and I lost the second page. It goes, it will also encourage you to use the precious time between Christmas and New Year to reflect and plan. By the end, instead of heading into January exhausted and lethargic with lingering dissatisfaction and a credit card hangover, I hope you go forth feeling rested and rejuvenated with fresh motivation and a hopeful heart. I've put together a Christmas care package, which you can access for free at, and she lists her website, dowhatyouloveforlife.com. Dowhatyouloveforlife.com. This includes a host of bonus tools and so on. May this book be a lantern leading you through the darkness of winter, back to the real enchantment of the season. I hope it brings much joy. Wishing you a calm Christmas and a happy New Year. That's signed by the author. And so I think that is most definitely something we all experience to a certain extent.
Yeah, I think the was it an email from your daughter that she wrote to you, because that was beautiful.
I thought so.
Yeah, I thought it was absolutely beautiful. The intro to the book itself, it's fairly typical for this kind of thing. It doesn't,
Sure.
it's a little bit cheesy,
Yeah.
But the sentiment is sound. But what your daughter said to you was absolutely wonderful.
Matthew Sainsbury, by the way, sorry to interrupt. He just brought this guy up. He said, "You have a Toy Story action figure behind you." Why, yes, I do. And I've got Spock is sitting here, Kirk is standing here, Aragorn is here. Who else we got up here? We got Knight in Shining Armor and C-3PO. Are all on my shelf back there. But here's there you go, Matthew. He says, "How dare you open my helmet?" We don't know what the oxygen level is on this planet.
Does he have the little blinking light, or is it still work?
Re-engage in gravity. Area secure. Buzz Lightyear at your service. Everyone take cover.
And whose name is on the bottom of this? Oh, I got this at a garage sale. So I had one of the original Buzz Lightyears from when this movie came out when my kids were little, and it got all busted up somewhere along the way. I used to let Sam play with it. I'm flying with style, or what do you say? Falling with style. There you go. This has the wings too. Let's see.
What was his catchphrase? To infinity and beyond.
And beyond.
Yeah.
Well, that's supposed to open the wings right there.
He used to have a little blinking light, for his weapon. I don't know. Yeah. It depends which model it is. Yeah.
That's supposed to open the wings, I thought. Oh, there they go.
There you go. That's cool,
It's
man.
got one working light.
That's cool. That's cool.
So there you go. And he did have a laser on his wrist.
There you go. That's it.
There you go. Okay, there's Buzz Lightyear. That was for Matthew Sainsbury. There you go. All right. So where were we?
I don't know. Everyone's very quiet tonight.
Well, you guys were talking about what is the difference, is there this sense of Christmas kind of waning and people aren't really that interested? There's more stress than there is celebration. The magic that we experienced when we were young about this seems to have been vanquished in some way, shape, or form. And I'll just say this. When I grew up in the 60s and 70s, my Christmases were of that Hallmark nature.
Yes.
And there was a magicness about it. But I think that, at this point, it's all been replaced by commercialization. That's happened over the last few decades, the last two in particular. The last one has been really intense, in my opinion. But what's happened is it's now become, because of the interconnectedness, it's this, oh shit, here's that time of year when we're supposed to think about people and review our lives and go buy presents and go do parties and wrap stuff and surprise people and all this. And that used to be part of the magic. Now it's a part of the commercialization in my opinion. So it's been it's one of the many things that's been hijacked. And I think that the other thing too, and this goes back to your point, Scotty, about when was Christ born, if he even existed. I
believe he existed. Too many historians wrote about him. Early first century.
This is true. They also wrote about a whole bunch of other ones. But one of the interesting things I've been thinking about is why do we find Egyptian mummies and people from that period and before all over that region, We find them all the time, but we haven't found a toenail of anybody that's written about in the Bible. I find that kind of an interesting oddity in the data stream.
I think that's cultural to a certain extent, I believe, because Egypt have a practice that tried to keep them. And keep in mind, the last 200 years of trying to piece together whose mummy was whose, because of the tomb raiding, they'd find 50 mummies down a shaft in one tomb, and they'd have to decipher who was who. And they're still even nowadays going, wait, that mummy that was found in 1922 down this shaft, we just found out that's Amenhotep III or whatever.
Well, yeah, but
but
the point there is that they actually have something.
Yes.
Right? There is no
they have something.
Archaeological evidence of any of the individuals. There's Jericho's been found and various cities and things have been found, but no bodies.
And you do find bits and pieces of things. You find what I classified once as secondary evidence. And my old seminary prof told me, oh, no, that's not secondary evidence. It's evidence is evidence. And just a few years ago, they found the 3 or 4 coins of an official that were minted by an official in the House of David, of King David, an official. I can't remember what official he was. It gave his name, and that he was part of the administration of David. And these 3 coins were found in a tiny town out in the outskirts. It wasn't near Jerusalem or anything like that. It was, a day's foot walk from there. And but what they found by finding these was establishing that there was a court of David. And does that establish the man? How about Solomon? Yeah, we don't have any skeletal remains for any of these guys.
We don't have tombs. I mean, we have
some tombs.
Yeah, but there's no bodies like we find with Egyptians and people out
right.
there.
But they had different cultural practices. You got to understand.
Yeah, JP is right.
With the Egyptians, their whole thing was preserving the physical body to survive into the afterlife. Everything was marked. You go into an Egyptian tomb, and it is all like, Amenhotep did this. Amenhotep did that. This guy over here in this box, fucking Amenhotep. Look, let me tell you what Amenhotep did. It was amazing. This one time Amenhotep had, and that's the whole thing.
Right.
Well, right.
Everything centers around that. But when you look at Judaism, you look at the practices of the Hebrews, you look at the practices of us even today until we started getting the Cadillacs of coffins, that are stamped out of Detroit, come with a V8 and a headers because, nobody wants to be in a pine box anymore. These things aren't preserved. You look at like ossuaries, right? Stone ossuaries. A lot of times they would put the body into a crypt area, sort of like how you would have the catacombs, right? You'd have all these bodies in there. When the flesh had all rotted away, had all been scavenged off of by beetles, rats, etc., they'd take the bones, they'd place them in an ossuary, and they'd place them someplace. But when you have grave robbers going in, taking things, you have people who are looking for religious relics. You have all these different things. Stuff gets shuffled around. They theorize, potentially they've found an ossuary that may have contained Jesus's bones.
And Jesus' brother. But again, my point is, and I completely agree with what you're saying, but there's a whole bunch of skeletons that are found just in the dirt. Okay.
Very true.
And the other thing, why is there nothing in the Egyptian records about the Jews?
I think there is. You have. I would say it this way. My answer to that has always been, it's always been one of look at the walls of the shrines and the temples in Egypt. There's not a single one of them not a single pharaoh that would write, I got my ass kicked this year by my slaves.
No, but they wrote about the people that they conquered and they lorded over. There's no mention of them at all in any
you
of
do
those
find
stories.
On was it Sennacherib, the wall of Sennacherib, or Shishak, which I think was the same as Sennacherib. There's that wall at not Luxor, Karnak, and I was there, and Momin Saad, who's been on this show before, one of the Egyptologists with the Ministry of Antiquities over there, friend of John and Maria's, he was showing me this wall, and he was pointing out where on this wall, and there were little plaques, they look like. There's no way to, it's all carved, but what looked like plaques about that big, all side by side, and 100 of them. And it's all the little towns, little kingships, little countries, big countries that were defeated by the Pharaoh. And listed amongst them are the I don't remember what it says on the plaque and how it says it, but it talks about the Hebrews, talks about the Jews, something like that, Judea, as being captured. Captured. And it would have been after the time of the Exodus. It would have been into the, I think, pre-dynastic period in Israel. So it would have been during the time of what the Bible calls the period of the Judges, and that there was some of that evidence. So you've got things like that exist.
Yeah,
we have the bones of David.
Scant.
No,
it's very scant. The majority of it comes out of the King James and the Gang book, but that's not the point I was trying to make. The whole
except
idea,
the Old Testament stuff.
Yeah, the whole idea of Christmas is a concocted, plagiarized story from pagan beliefs.
Right.
And that was done by the Christian side of the Abrahamic trilogy of belief systems. And so the whole idea of Santa, you did Krampus the other night. I mean, the storyline of all of this has been bullshit from the beginning. It was actually not even a tradition in the States celebrated the way it is until the 1920s.
So I personally think that the birth of Jesus has absolutely nothing to do with modern Christmas.
It has nothing to do with it.
Nothing to do. It has nothing to do with the celebration.
Everyone knows
modern
that,
Christmas.
Everyone
so
knows
isn't it kind of, maybe the commercialization of this whole Christmas concept, has clearly, in my opinion, taken over. But isn't it time for this whole thing to get cleaned up and pushed aside, turned into something else that's more believable? There was a meme with the
not as long as Coca-Cola's around.
Yeah, there was a meme with the dad sitting on a bench with his son, and his son says to his dad, "Is Santa unreal? Is it not true?" And his dad looks at him and says, "Son, think about how many people would have to be in on it."
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
And, I mean, the whole fantasy that we teach kids and all this shit needs to go away, in my opinion. Let me
throw something out to you with that one.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a made up amalgamation of multiple faiths, right? And I was born and raised Catholic. I went through Catholicism WOW school, like all of that stuff. I very rarely go to church anymore. I'll probably go midnight mass on Christmas, just tradition type stuff. But you have an amalgamation of multiple faiths, right? To get people, multiple faiths, belief system, right? We're talking here. I think our audience is clever enough to understand what I'm talking about.
Probably.
I know you are. So you have multiple faiths getting amalgamated into this one to bring people together. All right. So I value truth, right? I value fact very much so. All right. And that probably even goes into a bit of how I approach Christmas in general.
Were you willing to lie to your children about Santa?
My kids were too smart and they figured it out way too early. Look, if it wasn't for ADHD, my kids would probably be ruling the world right now. It's terrifying. The one thing I gave as a gift to the world. No,
Mute this.
you have this thing to bring people together, right? And try to create a sense of peace, harmony, togetherness in terms of surviving through the cold winters, in terms of surviving through the harsh realities when these things were created. You know, to make it through things.
Super Bowl was for.
Say again.
I thought that's what the Super Bowl was for.
Right. Yeah. No.
Yeah.
But you have these things, right?
And a sense of wonderment as well.
Well, in a sense of wonderment as well, right? Which ties into the faith, right?
Ties into the faith, yeah.
Right. But the thing is, you know, as much as I love fact, as much as I love to be steeped in truth, in cold, hard, brutal evidence, all right, you don't do what I did for 11 years without developing a deep appreciation for that. Otherwise, you live in a fantasy land.
Right.
All right. There's something kind of inherently good about that. And maybe just maybe we shouldn't fuck with it.
Well, wait a minute. Didn't we just do that a month ago at Thanksgiving?
What?
Bring
Yeah, hey,
together.
it's a
have
different
piece, a whole thing of community.
we
You know,
we have
It's a little different.
Thanksgiving.
a little different.
I think what you're saying, JP, is that. By the way, we all agree that, you know, Christmas and Santa and the reindeers and Rudolph and
Right, yeah.
We all
be
agree it's
uncouth
all
on the
bullshit.
radio.
We've been on this planet long enough to know that it's all bullshit. And, you know. But you can't just kind of say it means nothing,
Right.
because
We
then
need to get
create-
rid of it. It means nothing.
but then you create a void, you know, and that void has to be filled with something else.
Yeah, you know what likes to go into voids, Prof? I'll tell you what goes into power vacuums, and it's real ugly. It's real ugly. I've watched it twice now.
But when you think about it, I mean, when you think about it, first of all, Thanksgiving's got more facts and relevance to it in that meaning of getting
sure.
together and
Yeah, oh
celebrating
yeah. No, it
Christmas,
does.
right?
It does.
This was built up on all of this stuff that could easily be transitioned into a celebration of the end of the year, the celebration for the beginning of the new
Well,
year.
see,
It does-
I have a
Trees and
I have a
Santa's
fit when I
reindeer.
Why do
see
you want to take away our
saying-
holidays, Professor?
No, I'm
Come
not
on, we don't
everybody's
have enough
saying
of them, man.
keep Christ
Yeah.
in
I want
Christmas.
Better, not,
Why are you getting rid of our days off?
Yeah, does that mean we get-
The whole
does that
keep
mean we
Christ
get
in
less time
Christmas
off
thing,
work? Yeah,
I
yeah.
think that's bogus, because Christmas time isn't about. It's named after him by the church, but
Yeah,
the
that's
time
gotta
we
go.
celebrate Christmas isn't about Christ's birth.
That's got to go.
So
Just get
I
rid of
don't
that.
think it has to go. People can celebrate if they want to.
I would say I'd be fine with getting rid of the Christ in Christmas and leaving Santa. Okay, I could get along with that. But even that is a problem because of this crammed commercialization and life review over the last period of time that has been defined by whatever it is you measure it with. And oh, by the way, get ready for the new year, because somebody asked in the chat, I think it was Sarah, anybody got predictions for next year? What are we looking for?
Not in this show.
Right? I mean, there.
Have we not printed off and distributed the bingo cards yet, or?
Yeah, we need to both bingo. But I don't.
2024 bingo.
For me, you know, Christmas anymore is just however long my grandkids are enamored with it, and it's important to them. My daughters they jumped ship years ago, just like they kind of followed my lead. I haven't put up a tree in 10 years or more. The only thing, and I think somebody else again.
Last year was the first year I've put up a tree since 2011.
Yeah,
Wow.
somebody mentioned in the chat, do we have to get rid of all the classic Christmas songs? Hell no. Some of those are awesome. They just don't have to be
Just
wrapped-
not-
Actually, I was
it's
about
not
to say
Mariah
that's
Carey.
the first thing that should go.
Yeah.
But Mariah Carey, we'll just get rid of that one. Look, we
Yeah,
can
yeah,
keep
yeah.
Bing Crosby all day long. Somebody put her back on Carbonite. All right, that's what I look forward to at the end of the year, is that Mariah Carey gets frozen in Carbonite once again.
St. Nicholas Day was present giving day.
But think about it. If we took the holidays, you know, I've been taking for the last 20 plus years. I always made sure that whatever I was doing the last 2 weeks of the year, I didn't have to do any of that, that I could do whatever it was that I needed and or wanted to do.
Yeah.
So why can't we take that
You can
time
thank Santa for
and
that.
make it a positive reflection and a forward looking planning with anticipation and excitement, and change the whole present thing from, I got to get a present to somebody feels like they want to give you something, not that they have to.
Yeah.
All of that.
I think that's kind of the goal of the holiday, though. Like in general, like originally, wasn't so much like, "Hey, where's my present?" It was, "I'm gonna get this dude or dudette or whatever a present because it's the holidays and I want them to have something nice for the holidays and be cheery."
Right.
Like, I think that's where it started.
The
I think
thing is,
humanity messes it up like many things.
Yeah.
I would say to Robert that you're worrying about nothing, because as I was talking about earlier on, this is happening anyway.
Well, I'm not worried about it. I'm saying that it needs to accelerate.
Yeah, but it is accelerating. That's my point. People are not as excited about giving presents and wrapping presents, Christmas trees, and getting together and sitting around the table and let's all have fun and pretend we like each other even though we hate each other, and let's do all this shite. Let's do this over and over again, and it's going to be wonderful and beautiful, and everyone loves each other. Even kids don't really want that these days. So it is changing now.
Yeah.
Whether it's changing into running into the woods and hugging trees and stuff like that, I mean, there's a huge population who do exactly that at this time of year. As in Newgrange, and just a couple of days ago. Yeah. So there is a huge population who are like, we don't believe in anything, but we don't believe in any commercial aspect of this. We want to be at one with nature. That's always been there, and it's very strong. And there's a huge tourist industry built around that, going around the burial mounds in this country, going around the burial mounds in your countries.
I thought you were talking about a big following behind, tourist thing of running naked into the woods and hugging a tree.
Yeah.
I was like, I want to see the brochure for that vacation. That's
yeah.
Berries and nymphs. That's where I want to be.
And let's not make fun of it, because there are people who actually do want to dress up as animals and run around the woods.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And
That has nothing to do
it's
with
a thing.
Christmas, Niall. That has nothing to do with Christmas.
Absolutely,
Those are
but it could
those are
be
rituals that are based on geographic locations by belief systems that people have held for centuries, if not thousands of years. The whole thing at Stonehenge was the solstice that we just had. I mean, we have all of these markers throughout what we call our calendar right now, where gifts are given, birthdays, 4th of July, Memorial Day. I mean, we have got more different events where people get together and celebrate together a belief system or a way of celebrating that has nothing to do with a bunch of imaginary shit. And all I'm saying is that if we
Wait, what's the imaginary shit?
It was Santa and the whole Christ thing at Christmas. So what I'm saying is that all we do is we replace the 2 weeks that we spend focused on all this imaginary stuff and focus it on real stuff. Why not make it everybody gets to unpack the year? It is a time of unpacking, reviewing, and repacking and planning, and rest and recuperation. And if you want to celebrate and have parties and you want to do certain belief systems or rituals, have at it. But the commercial.
Well, what if Jesus is sitting up there in heaven and looking down and going, Christmas? Yeah, I'm cool with that.
Ooh,
I tell you what, Prof. If you really want to tackle something that could actually pay huge dividends on at a minimum Western society, get people to come off this whole idea about the diamond engagement ring.
Oh, geez.
Oh my God.
Because like you have some young kid who works his ass off because he wants to propose to his girlfriend, now spending $2,500 on the low end to $8,000 on the high end or higher for
a lot more than that.
Right. I'm being conservative.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, but
And now you've just like gotten rid of a down payment on a house, down payment on a car.
the only people that push
stuff
that are
for the-
women. If it was left up to guys, we'd give them a beer can tab.
No, you know
And
who,
bringing it back to
Well,
my
J-
$10 wedding ring.
JP. By the way, women these days, younger women, between the ages of 18 to 25, they are so fucking high maintenance.
Oh my God.
It's just out the door, you know, between the hair and the Botox and the nails and the clothes. I mean, diamond ring, yeah, forget it. If you take
Nobody
on a
needs
girl,
Botox before they're 80.
if you take on a girl these days, you know, between the ages of 18 and 25, you might as well just cut off your balls, you know, and just forget about it. You know, you're screwed for life. You will never be able to satisfy them. You'll never be able to buy them enough.
I'm sensing a lot of bitterness, and I understand this bitterness.
I mean, it's absolutely true.
You're sensing that too?
All you have to do is drive down the street on any Saturday night and watch, you know, these girls walking around. They look like they're wearing sort of, you know, a skin tight, you know, it's like a wetsuit that's been cut in half, and they can barely walk, and these high heel shoes, and the hair is all the same, and the lips are out to here, the earrings are down here, and and the guys are following behind going, fuck, what have I gotten myself in for here? You know what I mean? She's going to want to have a cocktail. It's going to cost me €20 to buy her a cocktail. And then I'm going to, tomorrow we have to go shopping, and then we have to do this. I mean, I would hate to be a young man between those ages I just mentioned, because women these days are such high maintenance. Diamond ring, yeah. They will expect the most expensive one they can find, because they're competing with everybody else.
My philosophy is this: if you want me to buy you a diamond ring of that kind of thing, you better show up looking like Veronica Lake, Vivian Leigh. I want to see victory rolls in the hair. I want you to be on point mid-century modern clothing, like all the time.
Well, like, very specific. You've obviously given this some thought, JP.
Well, look. All I'm saying is that, like, if there's going to be
guy's going to drop $20,000 on a ring,
if there's going to be demands of us, then, like, look, why can't I demand at least visually Donna Reed? Like, I'm just saying, like. Maybe I attend too many rockabilly events. I don't know.
Well, here's one of the things that people keep forgetting, and most of them don't even recognize or realize. Men marry women hoping they won't change. Women marry men hoping they will change.
Not hoping, presuming.
And they are going to be the driving force to do that change.
Making the blatant assumption.
I didn't know that I did not properly. I didn't know how to load a dishwasher. I didn't know that how to fold clothes properly.
I dated a gal once who openly admitted that she left a guy that she had been with because he refused. And it wasn't even a refusal, right? It wasn't even a refusal. Yeah, whatever, Sarah. Nobody's listening to that.
Sarah, I will ask you this one question. Show me the woman that is willing, when you're in financial hard times, to give up her wedding ring so you can have financial security. And I'll believe that statement.
I'm
Honey,
sorry,
it's time to hop that ring.
She left this dude because he wouldn't fold the towels the way she wanted.
Towels are important.
Like, that was a huge red flag for me. I looked the other way for a while.
Dairy idea just doesn't happen anymore.
I'm very particular about how you fold a towel.
Look, they're folded. They're in the linen closet. They're not in there like they're thrown in there. You should be happy. Like, otherwise, you have OCD, and we might need to go through behavioral health, therapy, or maybe medication. Like, towels are towels, man. In the scheme of things, nah.
I remember one time taking Rainey, and this is even years ago, into the hallway.
I can't read the comments on YouTube. Can anybody read them? I wonder how hilarious they are. They're probably like...
I'm seeing them all right here.
Yeah, you're getting slammed, JP. Everybody else is agreeing with us. So
That's
No,
right.
they're not. No, they're not. No, they're not.
Yeah, we're very suspicious of you, JP. I think
Yeah, there's a lot
I
of
think
suspicion
I
about
think
your-
he's sitting
yeah.
at home and sketching out the ideal woman and saying that this is this is how things should be, and I'm kind of frustrated. No.
No.
Yeah.
Anyway, I took
Yeah.
Rainey into the hallway and I walked her to the linen closet. And I opened the door. And I said, "Look." She said, "Why
How
did you
many
do that?"
hassles are raised
I
because of this
refolded all the
conversation?
towels. I refolded every single towel in the linen closet. And she said, "Why did you do that? I already folded them." I said, "No, you did not fold them."
They weren't folded.
I
the
said
right
they
way.
were slap on a pile, slap on the pile, slap. There were edges sticking out all over. There were rolled edges were this way, hanging
Look,
out
that's
corners
just
that
Rainey's
way.
creative side, man.
And a
Why you
whole
gotta beat
stack-
up on her? Come
a
on.
whole stack of them. Nothing was color coordinated. You open that closet door, it looked like a bunch of raggedy bagmen from the back 40 of the airport stuffed all their spare clothes in there. And so I said,
Color coordinated?
Now-
Scotty?
yes.
What are you talking about?
Well,
You're
we
a-
buy these sets of towels, right? We buy sets of towels.
You're
We
a
got some that
guy.
that have kind of a
Guys
brown
don't
and
use
teal
words
cast
like
to
color
them.
coordinated.
We've got some that have a red, velvety red cast to them. We've got some that have a blue cast to them, and everything in between. And then we got a bunch of kids' towels, like 50 kids' towels. I don't know why we're ever out of towels. We got 50 Disney kids' towels. The cheap ones for $8 at Walmart.
I do want to say real quick,
What?
Sarah. We were just messing with you. With
We were messing with you.
Yeah, don't take that. This is all kind of tongue in cheek
Yeah, it's tongue in cheek.
for the most part.
So I said, I like to fold towels a certain way. We did this once on the show. I demonstrated on the show how I fold a towel.
Yeah, and you're a little on the
Boom, boom,
complex
boom.
side, Scotty.
I like
I-
towels,
I-
and it only takes
yeah.
a few seconds.
I really want to
Bang,
look
bang,
find the
bang,
episode
bang,
of this where he folds towels on there. I
And
want to see
so
that.
I really
And
think
so-
you need to look into this, Scotty. This thing with towels. This
the
kind of
towel needs to have the roll of the towel folded, sticking out.
Okay, I will agree with
Okay.
that because it's easier to pull out that way.
Right.
You don't drag. That
But then
makes
you
sense.
put all the
That makes sense.
teal and brown patterned ones together. The red ones can go next, or the black, or the blue, or the whatever. Not a mishmash with a bunch of Disney towels crammed in between. You open that up, and I said to Rainey, and I look back, I'm laughing about it now, but it was kind of a serious, really stupid thing on my part. I don't know how stupid, but I look at how demented I must have been, because I look back and I was actually pleading with Rainey. I said, in a house that is constantly a disaster from children, can I please have this one little tiny itty bitty infinitesimal slice of civility? And that is that our towels are folded and color
black and
coded.
white.
What's that?
I said I could picture Gene Wilder saying what you just said, like,
Yeah.
but in black and white, like it's Young Frankenstein.
And can
the whole-
we have
my
one
work.
I mean,
bit
there's,
of
there's,
civility?
there's two things that popped into my head. Number one is of the one area that in the house, the rest of the house can be chaotic. But the one area that you want perfect, Scotty, is the one area that's guaranteed to be a chaotic, which is where the towels are kept, because they're always going to be grabbed by kids and thrown around and put
Right.
back in there. So and the other one, I don't know. Have you ever read the
futility of this pursuit.
Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy? Did you ever read that?
Yes.
Yeah, Douglas Adams, the Hitchhiker's Guide. He says there's only one thing you need to survive in the universe, and it's a good towel. Yeah. So there must be something to that. There must be something about a towel.
Has to be.
There has to be something.
Decorative hand towels.
Yeah. Maybe you could fold it.
Can
in a
we
certain
talk about
way.
decorative hand towels?
Yeah.
No.
Embroidered.
No.
This could be a significant emotional event for many men out there.
I
They
gotta
need to
tell
know. I mean, if you don't want
So in the spirit of continuing the idea of changing things for the better, we've covered the holidays and Christmas here, and I think
getting
we've
rid
not
of decorative hand towels, that's a good
we've
one.
not only established that they need to change, but put a couple of things out on the table. Let's talk about marriage, shall we? Did you know?
Not for very long.
Oh,
Did you know? I'll just make this quick because I have an observation on the problem and I have a potential solution.
Yeah. Okay.
Recent studies have indicated that marriage is the leading cause of divorce.
Damn straight.
Wow, I
So-
never thought of that before.
so- If that is true, how do we deal with this marriage thing?
we just
I
don't
have
do
an
it.
idea. I think that the institution of marriage needs to be changed and amended. I think
Okay.
and it starts first at the relationship level.
Hmm.
So I think what we need to be doing, if we get into these semi-committed moving in, but not, fully committed relationships, so we're living together, doing stuff together, then that should be renting a relationship, just like you would rent something from a store, furniture or a car.
Sure.
And if you decide, therefore,
Rental.
and you can renew the rental, there are conditions in that rental that kind of put the guardrails in and to what the behaviors are like and acceptable and not. But if that progresses and you decide that you want to have more commitment, you then lease the relationship. And that has more requirements, gets into the financial side, gets into the whole area of how do you manage assets that you have either individually or that you create collectively. And that lease can be renewed. And along the
Okay.
lines of what people do today when they
You-
renew their vows, it's like, okay,
You're
that's
more
cool.
into transhumanism than I thought, Robert.
that's not that's progressivism. This is something that the folks on
Sounds
the
very
left,
similar to transhumanism to me.
yeah, well,
But
but the idea is we need to change the way we look at this. Most marriages don't last for some good
that is
reason
true.
and for some bad reasons. The whole idea of having to have a government institution sanction your relationship by having it authorized with a stamped piece of paper is complete bullshit. The legal system that is wrapped around that act of institutional approval is completely broken. I mean, it is so
But of course,
oriented.
these are rules we set up for our society and we abide by them.
Right.
Why
So
do
I'm
I need? It's like my kids will say, "Well, why can you get pulled over for not having a driver's license or get a ticket for that?" I said, "Well, because it's a rule we made that says you must have this piece of paper or we will charge you money. And if we charge you enough money, we'll put you in jail and take away your freedom." All because you're driving a car, which you know how to do, but you don't have the piece of paper that costs you $35 a year. So it's
yeah,
like
but so
that.
my point is
Well,
that
now we need to talk about property taxes if you're going to go down that route.
oh,
yeah.
the whole tax system.
Now
is
let's open up a new topic.
all of that, but this goes back to the stuff that I ran on when we get into these subjects is everything is broken and everything is in the process of transformation.
Yeah.
Most of it is disruptive in the transformation. Fixing this Christmas crap is a part of that. Fixing relationships and the whole idea of how we organize and interact and behave and have acceptable behavior for a society, for a culture, all of that's changing. People are working.
This is for Kalina, by the way. There you go.
That's anal right there, but it's beautiful.
It's beautiful, isn't it? It's one
Yeah,
little
you need to get them
of
like stacked in
civility.
color order. No. You need to have it going from like light to dark or something, dark to light, left to right.
It usually did. My
Right.
recalcitrant children did this one.
I
That's
wonder how many
yours,
people are
buddy?
staring daggers at this conversation right now. I can feel it.
Hey, Sarah's leaving.
Oh, bye,
Great
Sarah.
holiday, Sarah.
Sarah, don't leave. At least don't leave for my joke about the ring and the dowry thing. Like,
She wouldn't do that. What are you
Yeah,
laughing
no,
at, Kalina?
some people can
Kalina?
get.
This is real.
I don't think it's real. I think it's AI.
I went to AI. Show me a linen
This guy-
closet in the style of mid-century.
I'm pretty sure that one stack of towels over there has 6 fingers. So
The one on the left? Yeah. Yeah, somebody's playing a foul joke on me. The one on the left, the little stack on the lower left is out of place and it's got a it's got a non-rolled corner sticking out.
Yeah, one of them's turned around, and the other thing is you can tell that it's all a hand job because there's handprints on top of every one of those piles.
Yep. There you go. All right. And on that note, we got to go. We're done.
Okay.
Wasn't this an amazing time?
Before we get into
We
any
all
more
learned so
trouble,
much. And what have you learned, Dorothy? So
learned that Jason's an asshole.
I will insult anyone, anytime, anywhere for the audience. Okay. Okay. Now that I've eaten half a bag of sun chips,
Hell, I thought your mic was going out again. That's what that crunch was.
that was me. See y'all Sunday, maybe, Randall Flagg. Hand job, said Sean Stroik. All right,
what you
guys.
did, Professor.
And happy bullshit day.
There it
whatever
is. There it is.
Yeah.
Have a
all right.
great
So
Christmas.
rather than let you all go separately, we'll all go out together.
All go together.
So
Everybody
here we go.
rest
Folks.
and recuperate and have a great one.
Everybody, you have a great weekend. Have a great Christmas. I will be here Sunday morning. So I will see you all, you stragglers, here on Sunday morning, and we'll drink a toast to time.
Learn to
I'm
laugh,
thinking
everybody.
Dan Fogelberg just came to mind for some reason. So, all right, guys, you all have a
All
good
right,
night.
see ya.
Live
Cheers.
long and prosper. Good night, Niall. You left early. See ya. Oh, that didn't work. Don't you hate that when your exits are all timed? And it's like, all right, everybody, bye, suckers. I said, bye, suckers. God damn it, the button
What are you
didn't
still
go.
doing here?
Hang on. Wait. Here we go. Are you ready? Are you ready? Good night, suckers. Ha! I'm still here. And Jason was until about 3 seconds ago. Good night.